Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins and today I'm talking to health coach and author Cheryl Meyer. Cheryl's book Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin in Community and Everyday Life was a finalist in Book Talk Radio Club's 2020 awards. Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin in Community and Everyday Life is the perfect immunity booster for our times. With everyone concerned about COVID-19 and staying healthy in times of virus and anxiety, award-winning Cheryl Meyer brings us a comprehensive guide to not only fighting viruses and staying healthy, but actually preventing some illnesses and maximising wellness by boosting our immunity. The idea is that food is our best medicine and that prevention is key. The answer lies in nature's medicine cabinet, food. Food is rich in vitamins, minerals and other healthy nutrients that our bodies and minds need to thrive. Instead of focusing on treatment found over the counter or in a prescription, this book focuses on prevention with an emphasis on organic, natural food, the importance of de-stressing and care for others, including children, pets and loved ones. Hi Cheryl, first of all, congratulations on being chosen as a finalist in Book Talk Radio Club's 2020 awards.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you, Claire.
Oh, it's my pleasure. The first sentence in the description of Feeling Good is, where is the magic pill in the time of the pandemic? You go on to say, boost your immune system today so that you and your family have a healthy defense system and feel great. I have to ask, is it that simple?
Believe it or not, the longer I'm doing this, the more I believe it is exactly that simple. There are some basics to health, and they're not difficult. It's just that we seem to want to opt for convenience instead of for health.
Yes.
And so if we really did start eating the rainbow, because each color has a gift for our body, and if we buy as close to the farm as possible so that when it hits our plate, it's loaded with phytonutrients, each color has a gift. And together they get together and they have a little party in the body. So the basic place to start to build your health and build your immunity is by eating real organic food of all the colors of the rainbow. And it took me maybe 3 months and I could feel the difference in my body.
Yeah.
And if we start to listen to our bodies, which I didn't the whole time I was getting sick, the body wants to tell us that it wants to heal, but we got to give it the right building blocks so that it can pull from that and do it. And it's because every cell in our body has a shelf life. And so do you want to be building with dead, cheap food that comes from processed food that's chemicals, or fast food that has no food value at all? Or do you want to be rebuilding from live, luscious phytonutrients?
Exactly.
That's where you want to be getting your building blocks from. So it comes down to there are other things that are part of it, but starting with food is the place to be.
So the foods we eat affect our ability to remain healthy. What kind of food should we avoid and what kind should we eat? So you're saying that we should avoid processed food. Well, I haven't eaten processed food for so long, and I know that when I stopped and I started eating fresh food and salads, and as you say, foods all colours of the rainbow, I started feeling better.
Right. I don't even think people believe how much better they feel when they change how they eat.
And you lose weight.
It just resonated with me. It made sense when the first doctor I went to suggested that I needed to change my diet.
Yeah, and you lose weight as well, because when you're eating healthy...
I don't believe in dieting anymore. I have lost 55 pounds just eating real food.
Wow.
And I lost 45 of them almost right away. They just fell off. But then I stopped dead for a year. And when we came to our vacation home right before Thanksgiving, I suddenly am dropping weight again. I've lost 15 pounds from Thanksgiving to today because my body has now rebalanced and it's ready to go. So the weight is just falling off again, which is fantastic.
It is. Well done, you. Okay, so we now know what kinds of food to eat and what to avoid. Fairly easy to keep up at home. But what happens when we go on vacation or to other people's homes? That might be a bit more difficult.
That's really why I wrote the second book. In the first book, I talked about about eliminating toxins, which is how I ditched my pain of autoimmune disease. But I don't live an isolated life. I'm a very social person. So I had to figure out how was I going to still have community and not eat the standard American diet, which is the processed food and the fast food. So I wrote the book to share all my tips of what I do. So if I'm going to go to a restaurant, I vet it before we go. I find out, are they getting their food in little baggies and zapping them in a microwave, or are they buying farm to table where they go to the farmer's market themselves, which means they have real live food that's organic that they can pick from to cook me a meal. So that's the first thing. Even when I travel, even when I went to England, I did a lot of research before I went, and I knew where I could eat, and I had talked to the head chef that he could accommodate me and make me real food. And in France it was easy, but in the United States it's not always so easy, so I do all my research ahead of time. Now, if I'm going to go to somebody else's house, I have learned that I call the hostess, I thank her for inviting us, I tell her that we're thrilled to come to her house and to meet her friends, but I hope she won't mind because I'm going to bring my own food. And that I'm going to bring a dish that's very healthy, I'm going to bring plenty so that her guests can enjoy it as well, but it's probably what John and I are going to eat, because I'm not going there for the food, I'm going there for the community. And I've never had any hostess say, if you don't eat my food, you can't come. If it's my family, I gave them all my favorite paleo cookbooks. So they know if I'm coming, they're going to pick something out of one of those cookbooks and they're going to cook a healthy meal for me. And it's made it easy. And they're having fun because they're experimenting now too. And slowly they're adopting all of my healthy habits, which makes me happy because I want them to live a long time too. So you can do it. You just have to plan ahead, and you have to not be afraid to communicate with people.
It's not just the processed loaded with sugar foods we should avoid, is it? Stress plays a huge part as well.
Stress is huge. I knew I had a lot of stress. My friends had started pulling me aside to tell me that I had to do something about it, that stress accumulates. I had my own business, and I was stressed out to the hilt so badly that when I got autoimmune disease, my cortisol, which is your stress hormone, was almost to Addison's disease. It was so low.
Good Lord.
And you also get a pot belly when your cortisol is low because you start storing fat, which holds on to what little cortisol you still have in your belly. So it was self-defense. I had to learn how to take care of my stress levels. And I've learned a series of little 3-minute exercises, and I utilize them intermittently through the day to let the top off my stress so that it doesn't become toxic stress. We all have some stress, that's perfectly normal. But when it goes into chronic or toxic is when it becomes very dangerous for the body, and you have to learn how to control it. So I have breathing exercises I use. I have little exercises like just jumping and letting everything jiggle next to my chair. I have something called a belly button wand, which when I bring it out, people gasp because it's a silly looking tool. That's a T that you put into your belly button, and the thinking is that's where you were born. So you can impact every organ in your body through your belly button by putting it in there and just jiggling it. It resets your parasympathetic nervous system at the back of your neck and lets all that extra frustration and stress right off the top. So there's different things I use, but you need to learn them. And it's so important. I have a chapter in my first book, a chapter in my second book, and I put out a little desktop guide to stress because I want people to learn these little exercises and utilize them.
Well, you've just answered my next question.
Sorry about that.
No, don't be silly. All right, so can you, where are these little exercises, this little booklet that people can download?
It's available on Amazon. And I made a little booklet because I want people, my books are very fat. They're each 500 pages long. So I wanted a little book that you could just keep on your desk. It doesn't interrupt your work. But when you start to feel that stress building up, you grab it, you pick an exercise, and you get up and you do it. Most of them take no equipment at all. Some of them are things you can just do and nobody even knows you're doing it. My favorite is the Dr. Andrew Weil 478 breathing exercise, which you can look up on of her patients because it brings me back down to a calm,
Mm.
and that's where we want to be.
One of the chapters in the book is titled The Benefits of Gratitude. What are the benefits and what does gratitude have to do with health? Well, I know what it has to do, but you tell everyone.
Yeah, well, gratitude resets your mindset. I write down 5 to 10 things every morning when I get up of what I'm grateful for from the day before.
Yeah.
But it's not just writing down what you're grateful for. It's taking action where action is appropriate. So if I'm grateful to my husband for something he's done, then I want to make sure that I tell him that. And gratitude, if you tell your employees, they work harder for you. If you tell your customers, they're thrilled that they're doing business with you. If you tell other family members, they're delighted to do special things for you, like cook out of paleo cookbooks. Gratitude improves every aspect of your life, and it turns any of the negativity away. It puts you in the now, and it makes you a positive person as you enter your day.
Yeah, very much. I mean, I have a gratitude journal that I write in every morning. I put 5 things down. I write 5 things down, and then I read them over again. Then I read them over the same evening before I go to bed, and it just makes me feel so good.
Right, and we have to stop and acknowledge the good things in our life.
Exactly.
I also did a gratitude journal, and the top part of it is victories, because I found that I was moving so fast and actually accomplishing a whole lot, but I was moving so fast I wasn't giving myself credit for any of it. So I write down my little victories from the day before at the same time as I'm writing down my gratitude, so that I can take a moment to give myself a little aha and congratulations that I got something done that was important for where I'm going.
Oh, I'm going to use that. That's a good one. I
find women particularly don't take credit for their victories.
Oh, yeah.
So it's important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Healthy children in the 21st century includes telling them where food comes from. Why?
Well, I got very concerned about, I didn't have children, but I love children. It's my one regret in life is that I didn't have them. And 53% of the children in this country have a chronic illness. So I did a whole section in the book about healthy children. It's important that they know where their food comes from because I want them to grow up and be little junior veggie rangers. I want them to know where their food comes from, to appreciate it, know that it's not coming out of a box and that it's not loaded with chemicals. Learn to cook with their mothers so that they can make real food when they become adults and have a real appreciation for where their health comes from, and then be emissaries for health when they go to school. I want them not to be eating chemicals, which are all those words that they can't pronounce on a box, and I want them to know how to read labels. So taking them to the farm and knowing where their food comes from is an important part of the process of bringing up children who appreciate real food and how to make it and how to eat it.
Bugs and creepy crawlers. Personally, I can't bear the thought of killing anything, no matter how many legs or wings it has. However, having them in our homes is unpleasant, but how do you get rid of them without using pesticides which are loaded with harmful chemicals?
Well, I was fascinated with that subject because A, I have pets, as you have a beloved pup, and I didn't want to be using chemicals around them, nor do you want to use them around children. And when I got autoimmune disease, I knew I didn't want to use anything with the end side because sides mean they kill something. So I was really fortunate. Someone introduced me to Richard the Bug Man, who has been in charge of bug control in the state of New Mexico for 60 years. And he sent me all of his books. And there are simple ways to get your house to not have bugs that have nothing to do with poison. No more spraying Raid everywhere in my house. If it's for ants, I use deciduous earth, or I use cinnamon. They both work. If I have spiders, then you just want to make a little spray of water, forgetting what the name of it, alcohol, water, and you spray it on them, and that they go away. They don't come back.
Yeah, but there's
even
also,
black widows work with that.
yeah, but there's also danger, Cheryl, that they get used to it, that you'll see them walking around the house with a little umbrella.
Probably. You don't have to worry about all spiders, by the way. away only the poisonous ones.
Yeah.
He wants us to respect the other guys. I used to live in what I called the tree house. It was over a 3-car garage underneath a whole bunch of oak trees, and I felt like I was queen of the spider people because there were spiders in the trees, so there were spiders in my house. I learned to live with them, which I never used to. But there were black widows and brown recluse up there, so those were the ones I wanted to keep out of the house. Roaches are a riot. He had me put down, I only had them once, it was when I lived in Beverly Hills of all things, and you put down a dish of beer and they go into it and they drown themselves. It was that simple.
Oh, poor things.
So you don't have to use all the bait traps where they get stuck and it's icky.
Oh.
You don't have to be worried about chemicals. You just put down the beer and they all go in there, then they go away.
Well, you know what's also good? Peppermint. Spiders hate peppermint, so if you get some peppermint essential oil and put a few drops on some cotton wool and then wipe it around the windows and around your doors, that puts them off as well because they don't like peppermint.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
So,
and I talk about pantry moths. I talk about silverfish. I talk about all the different kinds of bugs that, at least in LA, I get on a regular basis. The only thing I haven't found a solution for is our second home is in Arizona, and scorpions. So when we're not here, somebody comes and sprays outside the house so that the scorpions don't come in.
Discovering how to be a great pet guardian in a toxic world. What the heck is in your purchased pet food? Interesting question. What is in pet food? Or maybe I shouldn't ask. I'm rather worried about the answer.
While I was trying to get myself well from autoimmune disease, I wasn't connecting the dots that GMOs were also in my pet food. My animals always lived over 20. These 3 died at 12, 14, and 16, and I was heartbroken. So I decided I was going to figure out what changed. And what changed was, starting in the late 90s, GMOs went into pet food, but it got far worse than that. Most pet food is made from disabled, dead, deceased, and dying animals, and then it's put in and it's cooked into this horrific toxic glue that has all kinds of carcinogens in it, and then they add grains and corn and peas and soy to it, which is not the specific diet for a pet. So that becomes sugar, and so guess what all our pets are dying from? They're dying from cancer at much earlier ages because there's a direct connection between sugar and cancer, whether it's in humans or it's in pets. So I talk about where the pet food is coming from, how it's made, and then I have resources of 3 different lists where you can find quality pet food that matches your budget. What we're feeding, I have 2 new 8-month-old kitties, and they're eating real food that's freeze-dried because that's what's specific to their diet. It's real meat that's freeze-dried, and they love it. And it's what we can afford, but you don't even want to necessarily be making your own food because that can be unbalanced. There is a holistic vet called Dr. Karen Becker who talks about, if you're going to make your own food, you need to follow a recipe that she has in her book that's available on Amazon. And then there's a couple other holistic vets that have different recipes, but the same idea, because if it's not balanced, it can cause even greater problems in your pet. So you need to buy food quality matters. It doesn't matter if it's for humans, it's for pets, or it's for children. Food quality matters. What you put into your body directly impacts your health.
Something that always irritates me, pet vaccines. A large amount of money for something that is potentially harmful and perhaps unnecessary. But kennels, especially here in the UK, won't take an animal in unless there's proof of vaccinations. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, number one, I immediately found a holistic vet both close to where I am in LA and also here in Sedona. There are certain vaccines that animals need to have, but we way over-vaccine our animals. And I explained that the ones we absolutely have to have are distemper, parvo, and endovirus. and then rabies. But you don't necessarily have to have the second round of them. So that becomes a robust conversation with your vet, because there's something called a titter. I might be mispronouncing that, TITER, where they can test the animal and see if they're already covered, or if they need another shot of the vaccination. And in most cases, they're already covered. One of the big problems with vaccinations is that there's only one size fits all. But you could have a Chihuahua or you could have a gargantuous dog, and they don't need the same amount of vaccine. So you need to know all this. You need to get educated, and you need to have a robust conversation with your vet to make sure that your pet's getting the best possible care. And then there's a bazillion other vaccines that, depending upon where you live, your animal may or may not live. So you need to have that conversation as well. What else are they recommending for your animal? Because it may be unnecessary. And a holistic vet is just like a functional doctor. They want to deal with the whole animal. They understand that food is the first place to start, and then they want to do what's best for your animal, for his size and his breed and your location.
So tell us about you, Cheryl Meyer. How did you become interested in food as medicine?
I was an entrepreneur. I had my own jewelry business for 20 years. I was designing for big box customers like Macy's and JCPenney and Kohl's. I loved what I was doing, but I was working 24/7. And my body was trying to tell me for probably 20 years that something called toxic load was building up. Little things started going wrong with my body, and it flitted past my brain so quick I didn't even stop to think about it until I couldn't ignore it. I woke up one morning in horrific pain. Every joint and every muscle in my body hurt. And I went to my conventional doctor, who did 4 rounds of tests and called me and said there was nothing wrong with me. And I looked at her and said, "That's ludicrous. I hurt. Something's wrong, and I'm going to go find it." And I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I was lucky because I tripped into the functional medicine community, and they were running 19 different symposiums with multiple doctors, and they kept having the same threads come up in each of their conversations. I probably had toxic load. Made sense to me because of the things that had been happening to my body. I probably had something called leaky gut. So I wrote down, I was going to go explore what that was, and I found a giant database in the sky called EWG, which puts out the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 list every year, which tells you what vegetables you have to buy organic and what vegetables it doesn't matter. Well, they're a giant database with hundreds of thousands of chemicals and items in their database, and I started looking everything up. And then I started to look up the difference between organic, conventional, and genetically modified, which I truly did not understand. We'd had genetically modified on the ballot in California, and it lost because there was so much misinformation put out. So I went on a 5-year learning spurge, and I kept little file folders, and I kept putting the articles by category in these file folders until I lost my pain. I found my own functional doctor. I returned to relative wellness and decided to go back to coaching school so that I could help other people with what I learned. So it was really self-defense that I learned all of it, but I was running into people everywhere that needed what I learned. Women in the grocery store, I'd get into a conversation about a sick child and how they were handling it, what they were feeding the family. I just, in waiting rooms at my dentist, everywhere I was running into other people who had autoimmune diseases or cancer or heart disease. They're all chronic illnesses that start with something called leaky gut in the functional philosophy, and I wanted to be able to have credibility to help those people, and my BA's in English, so that wasn't going to give me the credibility, but I wanted to learn as much as I could to get out into the public and help more people.
You're an integrative nutrition health coach, so what does that entail?
I went to school and I got certified as a health coach, and I loved the school. It introduced me to a whole lot of additional resources, but I had done so much research on my own. Really what it did was just give me a foundation of credibility, because I have a huge library of my own where I kept track of everything.
I can
and
imagine.
That's what I used to write the first book.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So let's go back to your book now. You say health must start with healthy habits. Can you give an example of the three most important, please?
First one is wherever possible, if you can afford it, eat everything organic because you do not need a healthy or unhealthy dose of toxic chemicals on your food when you're eating it. So, my whole thing is to eat the rainbow, eat it organic, and buy it as close to where you are as possible. And if you're a place in the winter where you can't get that, then buy it frozen. But eat real food and cook. The second most important thing is to get 7 complete hours of sleep because, and that one's hard for me. I can sleep 6 hours, but that seventh hour is elusive. There's a new study out of Berkeley that says that that seventh hour is when all the plaque gets swept out of your brain, which is what eventually can cause dementia. And I just turned 72, so I don't want to go there. I want to keep my brain for the rest of my days on this earth. So getting that seventh hour of sleep is super important. And then I'm going to do 4. Stress control is huge because stress impacts every single organ in your body. And so you have to find ways to get the stress out and off your body so that it improves your mood, it improves your gut, it improves your possibility for chronic disease. It improves everything. And then the last one is you need to move. I am not somebody who ever liked to exercise, so I bought what I call my mini trampoline. What it is a little rebounder. I have one in both houses, and I tape the Sunday morning top 20 on VH1, which I have on one cable system, and on Country Western, which I have on the other cable system, and then I just jump lightly to that. It gets my heartbeat going. It cleans out my entire lymph system, which goes around and picks up all the garbage around my cells, and it gives me the needed exercise and the movement that I was missing in my life.
Wonderful, wonderful. You also say, try my tips for 90 days and feel the difference. What is the first difference that readers can expect to feel?
When you start living a healthy lifestyle, one of the things I recommend to everyone who's in my group or that I coach is every morning when they get up, they need to look in the mirror and they need to ask themselves the question, how are you feeling today? And then they need to get quiet and listen. In the beginning, I could almost not even get out of bed. Everything hurt. But as I started to eat real food, it did not take that long for my body to start to celebrate. I also discovered I had 18 food sensitivities, and believe it or not, there's a test for that. And if your doctor won't order it for you, there's one you can order for yourself from Meridian Valley in Seattle, Washington. But you get rid of the things that are causing your discomfort. You start ditching the chemicals. There's 70,000 chemicals out there that are either in our water, our cosmetics, our food, all different levels, our cleaning supplies, our fragrances. You got to get rid of all of that. And then you ask your body every morning, and your body starts to say, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. I no longer have brain fog. I slept all the way through the night. I don't have agita anymore, which is what my family called upset stomach after eating a meal. You start to notice that those things are disappearing, and you start feeling, I have energy. People can't get over I'm 72. I have more energy than most kids, and that's because of my healthy lifestyle. So I'm way more productive. I thought stress was making me more productive in my business. It was slowing down my productivity. Now I'm super productive because my brain is clear, and if it starts to fuzz up after I eat lunch, I get up and do one of my little exercises, and I can feel it go all the way to my brain and through my body. So it makes a huge difference. You need to ditch all the toxins and the chemicals, those words you can't pronounce or don't know what they are. They need to go because they're not doing your body any good. And then your body will start to tell you how much better it's feeling.
You've been receiving some wonderful reviews for Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin in Community and Everyday Life, including a treasure trove of essential information. This book has so many great tips, but I especially enjoyed a chapter on eating healthy out in restaurants. Author Cheryl Meyer has done it again. She's given us another great reference book for living low toxin. I love her warm writing style. It's just like having a conversation with her. I love those reviews. Finally, Cheryl, where can Book Talk Radio Club's listeners purchase Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin in Community and Everyday Life?
I actually have an author store on Amazon. You can go there and you can see all 4 of my books, which includes my journal, my little desktop stress book, and then my 2 health manuals, which is really what they are, how I got rid of toxins, where I researched what I replaced them with, and then how do I maintain it, because maintaining it was also a big part of the picture. And then I've been in a few compilation books, so they're in my store on Amazon as well.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you. And once again, congratulations, Cheryl, on being chosen as a finalist in Book Talk Radio Club's 2020 awards. Good luck for the future.
And thank you, Claire. You're the best. I have loved working with you for both my books.
Oh,
so it's delightful to be interviewed by you again.
Oh, thank you very much. You have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thanks. Bye now.